I was thinking the beautiful Kenneth Branagh is behind the camera, so it was never going to be an ordinary comic book and adaptation. And I know he had you learning the speech from Henry V, the rousing the troops speech.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you knew when walking into this is going to be a little bit different.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, at that point, when he gave me that was before we'd started shooting, and there's a part of me thinking I could still get recast here, and being handed that scene, I was like, oh my God, this is it, you know. But it wasn't at all a test. It was we were playing around with dialect and what have you, and that was just something to work on.
Well, of course, this arrogant, reckless God of Thunder has a hell of a journey, really, going right through being banished to Earth, and really to learn humility and to learn honour, and through Natalie Portman's sexy astrophysicist Jane Foster learns horniness. So there's all these different sort of emotions that I'm guessing it was quite a range of having to deal with a huge amount of, and they are Shakespearean kind of emotions. There was quite a range of acting here to be done.
Absolutely, and it was great to be able to take it in that many different directions. I think the further you push it into that arrogance, it's a tougher journey to win the audience back, but a bigger payoff if you succeed. And Ken was all about exploring and trying different things. Taking it into sort of vulnerability and some humour, and then the berserker sort of arrogant aspect of it.
I know that it was a role that you very nearly didn't get. Your younger brother Liam was in at one point in the top 5, along with people like Alexander Skarsgård and Josh Hartnett and even Tom Hiddleston. Yeah. And it was your wonderful mom Leonie who said, "Okay, let's make a 2-minute, I think it was, audition tape in the kitchen of your hotel." And was there a sort of a turning point when you knew this was working, that this would actually get you the role? I don't know if that was a shock to you, because it must have felt like it was gone.
Look, by the time I'd done that tape reading with my mum, I just felt different than I did the previous few months before that when I first met Ken. I had a different approach, and there was a bit of fire in the belly because, they brought my brother in and not me, and, there was that sort of, that was the fuel. But I guess knew more about the character by then too. When I first walked into the first audition, we were given a breakdown of all of, a paragraph, and I hadn't read the comics previously, and it was sort of go in tomorrow, read with Ken, and that was it, So I think a combination of things kind of got me back in there, and built up a bit of sort of confidence, I guess.
But of course, you could tap into all that sort of emotion with Liam through Thor and Loki. There would be that sort of rivalry, the sibling rivalry thing could always feed the part anyway.
Yeah, we have a great competitive, both my brothers and I, relationship. We grew up in a very boyish sort of household, and beating each other up and whatever, but also the best of friends, and in this particular business, it really becomes a team effort. Like everything else is fiercely competitive, but this is we're aware that the odds are against us.
Well, with Luke and Liam and yourself being in this business, I don't know whether that was something that your parents sort of instilled, or whether it just sort of happened that you all sort of fell into.
It just happened, they weren't in the business, before us. I mean, they're not in the business, and I guess we had a love for storytelling and film, and it wasn't until we were all finishing high school that we thought, we could do this, properly, professionally, and started auditioning and having a go.
Well, you obviously, being Australian, you all had to. I know your brothers did Neighbours, you did Home and Away. I think it's the law in Australia, you're not allowed to go anywhere in your career until you've done those, at least one of those two soaps. But when you arrived in Hollywood, within 6 weeks you got cash, and then you've had 5 movies since then. Obviously, people will have seen you in Star Trek and The Perfect Getaway. You've got 2 movies that were held up in MGM's financial woes that are coming out this year, Red Dawn remake and The Cabin in the Woods. I don't know if you get a little bit vertigo as you got married in December. It must all just seem like life is very, very fast right now.
It is, there's a sort of, on one hand, there's this sort of all of a sudden coming together, but on the other hand, it's something I've been working towards for sort of 10 years, and I guess now it's some of the films are starting to come out, so it's exciting,
And is there any sense of vertigo, because the expectation on a movie that's 150 million, you've got Marvel behind this, and they've got a whole Avengers world ready to unleash upon the world. I don't know whether it feels like you're in the middle of a major twister that you've just got to keep your feet on the ground and.
Sure, yeah, there's a big element of that. It's the sort of the anxiety about it all, but also the excitement of exactly that is sort of overrides it. To be playing a superhero with these people and be working in this business and be here is what I've wanted to do for so long. So now that it's here, it's just about having fun.
I should say too, because you look like me, all buffed up and beautiful and strong and all that. That notion that maybe it's a little bit harder to prove yourself as an actor, because people will assume if you're that good looking and that physically fit, there's no deep, dark, emotional turmoil going on there that ugly people like Steve Buscemi have to go through. But I don't know whether for you, when someone like Anthony Hopkins kind of jokes on set that, whoa, there's no acting required here, when you see the amount of uniform you have to wear and costuming and all that, whether there is a side to you that says, okay, I've got to really prove myself doubly hard here.
Of course, yeah. No, I mean from the very beginning, it was about walking onto set with these established actors and directors and taking on this franchise, and it was about approaching it the same way I'd approach anything, which was as much research as I could do, and collaboration and talking to those actors and the director and finding the truth in it, and many conversations with Tony about what exactly we think's going on here, and finding something, a hook into it, whether it be my father to son sort of relationships or brother to brother, and it was great. It was about constantly sort of going deeper and not just looking at it as a superhero film.
Finally, my 8-year-old nephew Thomas, he's the god of thunder. He doesn't even have to lift his leg and he can make thunder happen. Is there any advice, any way I can stop him? Is there any sort of trick to stopping the thunder happen with a child?
Just tense up,
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell him. Rock and roll. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Thank you.